Welcome back to Gero Dynamics. Okay, so this is a another political video. I'm putting it out after the debate video because the debate's more of a current topic. I actually created this post about 2 days ago and just didn't have time to film it before. Ran out of time with everything else going on, and so I didn't film it then. But let's go ahead and touch on it now. So before I get into the actual politics, I wanted to find for this post. It's on Facebook. It's just my personal Facebook. There was I wanted to find the GIF or the meme or whatever you call it for the Marsha. Where Jan Brady is saying that. And so I wanted that to be like the GIF to go along with the post, and I was having a heck of a time finding one, which is weird, because it used to be a super popular thing. But apparently there is a drag queen now named Marsha, or Marsha something, and I just kept getting like images and gifs and stuff of this drag queen, which it's kind of interesting. That's the direction the internet's going, where it's all like you can't find the Brady Bunch, you have to find the drag queen named after the thing from the Brady Bunch. Anyways, but I was able to find one. And it was perfect because it wasn't even like, it didn't say Marsha. It said Russia, which is exactly the point that I was trying to make with it. So hilarious. Russia. All right, let's take a look at this post real quick. All right. So I put that apparently the Dems are kicking this dead horse again. They act as if Russia is able to directly steal the election. And of course, it's perfectly fine for them to question elections. They can question the 2016 election. They can question elections in other countries. But if anybody they disagree with questions an election, they're an election denier and they're an insurrectionist and all these horrible things. But they're allowed to question elections, right? But they pretend that the Russians can directly impact our elections when, really all they're doing is probably some internet, manipulations or putting out stories or, having people out there doing, the fake accounts, bots, as some people call them. Although they're probably real people, they're just, not acting as themselves. They're acting as these other characters or whatever. Really, you're seeing far more influence on our elections from places like Ukraine, China, even Hamas. Has far more of an impact on the people and the election. So really, it's so funny that they keep going back to this Russia thing. But what happened was there's a group that some sort of Russian group that had funding or from some rich Russian or something, I don't know, and they went and they got a founder, or they got a person to front a company in the U.S. that would handle different social media type things, and then they went and they started financing different right wing content creators, and but didn't tell the content creators where the funding was coming from. They just started funding them. They didn't even tell them what to discuss. It's so weird because it's like, okay, so they funded them. They didn't know where the funding was coming from. They didn't it didn't bias their reporting at all. But for some reason, somehow that's Russians, stealing our election. So stupid, so dumb. All right, so moving on. By the way, it looks like some people were doing things they shouldn't be doing, but for the most part, like they're victims. Like the actual like indictments are saying that these social media content creators, even bigger names, all were actually the victims because they didn't know where the financing was coming from. So to try to say they're Russian stooges or that they're going out and giving all this, talking about Putin when they're really not even hardly talking about Putin. But anyways, moving on. Sadly, there was another shooting. And then, of course, in response to a shooting, there's another barrage of people showing they don't understand the Second Amendment. They don't care about the kids as much as they care about disarming the people without putting in the work to amend the Constitution. So they really they want to use these types of shootings to try to influence the population so they can get laws passed that are obviously unconstitutional because they don't want to actually put in the work to amend the Constitution. So here's the thing. One, we shouldn't be amending the Constitution to limit the right to bear arms. There are other ways to try to fix these problems. We didn't have these problems the whole time that we've had the Second Amendment, so there are other things that could be done. But even if there weren't, we don't need to give up the Second Amendment over this. It's not something that is going to help. In fact, I think that the reason why we have a lot of these shootings is in part because people are ignoring the Second Amendment and trying to make gun-free zones and things like that. So, I just don't think that it's a good idea to get rid of the Second Amendment. However, if you do think it's a good idea to get rid of the Second Amendment, you actually have to put in the work. You actually have to go out there and try to convince enough people so that you can get enough support so that you can get rid of the Second Amendment. You can't just pass laws and bypass it and think that you can use emotional damage, to cause people to just accept the fact that you're passing an unconstitutional law. It's just not going to work. They're just lazy. Simple as that. Lazy. All right, so let's see what else is in this post here. Talked about the debate was going to happen, but I've already did a whole video on the debate after it happened, so we'll just leave it at that. Non-extremist partisans are leaving the Democratic Party. So, RFK Jr. again, Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, we talked about those previously. Apparently, Alan Dershowitz has left the Democratic Party. And it seems that what we're seeing is a lot of the non-extremist partisans, a lot of the more moderate Dems are leaving the party, and not to go and join the Republican Party, although some seem to be, but for the most part, I would say most probably aren't going to go join the Republican Party, but they're leaving the Democratic Party. On top of leaving the Democratic Party, there's a coalition building for Trump. So even though they're not becoming Republicans, a lot of these people are going to vote for Trump because he's building this coalition with people like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. I don't think Alan Dershowitz is going to vote for Trump, so he's not part of that coalition. But you see more and more of these people leaving the Democratic Party because it just doesn't represent them. Meanwhile, Harris is getting the support of Kinzinger and Cheney and other warmongers because, well, she loves war. And they know if they get her in office, they'll get their war. That's what they want. Communists do love war. And we do know that Harris was raised as a communist. She does want to push those sorts of ideas into the law of the land, and so you can just call her a communist. It's kind of that simple. They love war, they love taking other people's money, and people are trying to justify the wealth unrealized capital gains tax again because of this. Of course, they have almost no clue about tax and the actual impact. All they care about is their jealousy and punishing the wealthy. Basically, it would have no impact on current spending, let alone the national debt. Not to mention, they actually use it to justify new spending, so spending and debt would actually increase even though they are creating a whole new tax. Okay? And so, again, tax is bad. That's kind of like my general take on it, but I have worked for a long time in the tax industry, so I have a lot of knowledge about taxes. And so, when someone comes to me and tries to challenge me on my positions on taxes, and especially things like this, it's not going to go well for them. And I seen this recently in a debate discussion, not really a debate, more like a disagreement discussion, talking about how it would only affect people who, the super wealthy, right? The millionaires or billionaires, depending on where you see them drawing the line. And I said, well, one, it's not, even if it was only on people making, such and such amount of money from capital gains, this would impact going all the way down the line. And there's no benefit to it, there's no positive side to it. But we also don't specifically have her policy. She has said that she believes in doing these things. And people are going based off certain things that were part of Biden's policies to say, that she plans on increasing taxes in the same way as him. But we really don't know that. We don't know if she's going to limit it to just those high dollar capital gains amounts. So to say that is kind of like disingenuous. But even if it was true, and they were only going to assess the unrealized gains, it doesn't do anything positive, especially if they're just going to create new spending out of it. Then we still have the overspending and the national debt and the deficits that we would have had all along, and more tax. But on top of all that, if people are finding that they're not going to be, that they're going to actually lose money by investing money, why would they invest the money? It's just logical that, if someone is going to lose the money, they're going to lose more money than they would have even possibly gained. They're just not going to. So you're just going to lose out on the investment. It's going to hurt the stock market. It's going to hurt the real estate market, other places like that. And you're going to lose out on all the taxes for it. Because if you didn't have the unrealized gain, well, when they finally sell it and there is a gain, then they would be able to, they would be paying tax on it. But now they're not going to even do that. So less tax revenue, more spending. It's all in all a bad deal. And that's just my take on it. If you want some additional information, I've done other videos on taxes and all the mistakes coming from the left on tax policy. It's something that I'm very familiar with. So if you want some more videos like that, let me know. All right, everybody. Well, I think that's going to be it. That's going to be my this video. And if you like videos like this, let me know. I like doing the political videos, but I started doing like really long ones, and they weren't, people weren't watching them. I can't blame them. It was way too long. So hopefully these shorter videos are more to your liking. Let me know what you think. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a good day.